How would objectivists explain, the absence of any external force bringing a universe into being?
So this is basically this idea that the theist has that, well, we need to have something which explains, which caused the universe to come into being. This is a misunderstanding of the law of causality, which is why objectivism is very, very particular with how the law of causality is introduced and explained. So causality says that every action has a cause, and every effect has a cause for it, right? That things don't just happen out of nowhere, right? But it doesn't say that every entity has a cause, right? So you don't have to say that the universe, something must have caused it to come into being, right? You have to at some point cull the line. You have to say, right, this is the irreducible primary, and the irreducible primary is, well, we look out, we see that existence exists, the universe is there, right? The universe being the sum of all existence, right? To suggest that there is some sort of creator outside of this, which caused the universe to come into being, well, that negates the whole point that the universe is everything which exists. You don't have to have, and the theist is fine with having, oh no, it's fine to have this consciousness, it's fine to have him as the irreducible primary, it's fine to stop there, but just not at the level of the universe. Well, why, right? Why is it fine to stop at the consciousness which caused the universe, and not the other way around? And I think this is like the fundamental, I think this is the best contribution in all of objectivism, and that is the primacy of existence. It is saying that, well, consciousness is consciousness of existence. Existence has to precede consciousness. The primacy of existence view, in all its many forms, is fundamentally a stolen concept fallacy. They take this concept of consciousness, which can only ever occur after you've already got existence, and then they try and make it precede existence. It's a complete inversion, and it just, from that, every single error in philosophy, I'm almost convinced of this, that every error can be drawn back to primacy of consciousness. I'm not certain of that. There might be other errors out there, but this is definitely the most fundamental and broad error I've ever encountered.
That's right, and it's not even it's not at all limited to theists. Atheists make the exact same error with regard to the universe's creation, because when they respond to theists who make the argument, oh, it's so improbable, it's 1 in a trillion, trillion, trillion that the universe could have formed exactly this way, how do you account for this? And the atheists will desperately look for some theory like, oh, maybe there's multiple universes, and the fact that this one turned out well means all the others didn't turn out well. But all of this is just unnecessary, as Zulu said, because if you have to get to a stopping point. You can't infinitely look for causes of causes of causes. There has to be a primary. And there's no reason to look for a primary outside of the primary that we already know is true.
And if I'm not mistaken, the objectivist standpoint on this issue is that the universe is eternal. So in that case, that's kind of a concept that I have a hard time wrapping my head around. So basically, what I would like to ask here is, I take it that, if the objectivist standpoint is that nothing in the objective world can be infinite, how can a universe be infinitely old?
So this is a very, when objectivists say the universe is eternal, they're using the term very, very precisely. What they're saying is it doesn't have a beginning, right? And they're not saying this is infinite, right? It's infinite in the sense that you could keep counting back to earlier and earlier and earlier events, just as I could point out and I could keep counting 1 meter away from my finger, 2 meters away from my finger, 3 meters away from my finger. I suppose what you're sort of getting at is, well, how did we get from the beginning right up to this point? We must have traversed all that time. Well, no, because there wasn't a beginning. It doesn't make sense. It's like, well, if I can point out infinitely far, how did we get from way over there to way over here? Well, we didn't need to get all the way from over there to over here. Fundamentally, these tools, counting amounts of time and counting amounts of distance, they're mental tools of cognition. It's you're breaking up, the universe as you perceive it, with these counting tools, these counters in your brain, that you could keep counting earlier and earlier and earlier times doesn't mean that you had to traverse all those times, just as counting further and further and further distances didn't mean that you had to traverse all those distances to get where you are.